to go. Now you got it.
And calling the playground subcommittee into order. I have a motion to begin.
I move to begin.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda, approving of the minutes, we're gonna have to defer to January as we don't have the minutes from November. So as soon as we can get them, we will forward them out to everybody so that you can read them. And then we'll be able to approve them and move forward. The second item on our agenda is a playground equipment update. And I have passed out two different forms or flyers. The first one is a proposed amendment to our zip line. So we have gotten feedback from some parents that kids are coming up the ramp and they block kids who are going down the zip line. So they would like to have a stairway coming from the back, with everybody moving in one direction. So we've gotten a quote for that, and our first grant that we'll apply for, as the first grant that Encore will apply for funding for this will be to the trustees before the end of the year, so that we can have this part updated so that kids can play more safely. So that's,
And do you know what the pricing of this is?
the pricing is about $10,000. So
Trustees have expressed interest in funding, or they have a pot of money that,
they have a grant proposal that they advertise in the paper, and so
Okay.
I'm going to take them up on their proposal and put together an application for this particular piece. And that'll be something that Encore as a group, which is our nonprofit, will do outside of the city government. So because these grants are specifically for nonprofits.
do you mind if I just open the door for, I think Brian was just calling in. I'm assuming for door.
So if
Thank
we're
you.
gonna do this before the end of the year, that means that you probably have to do it next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll file it.
Okay.
Is this because it expires, its deadline?
It's to the 31st. We only have to the 31st for this round of grant applications. Brian?
Sorry, I had a client call that went late.
It's okay.
Apologize. Good to see that.
Okay, so Brian, just to catch you up quick, we are going to put in a grant, Uncle will put in the grant for about $10,000 to amend the zip line so that we have stairs to make the flow of the direction similar. The other thing that I double checked about this was because we will be adding to the footprint of the park, I wanted to double check to make sure that this particular stairway wasn't going to overlap any other equipment. And I did confirm with Compton, the manufacturer, that we were, that this would not be in the way. Yeah.
And Suzanne, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's the case, if this side is blocking the,
Two.
what, there's the little thing here, right, the metal structure there, they probably could go on either side, right? Probably more so this side than here because there's a fencing,
Right,
But
this
they're
is really
probably
the place that it
not
can
the only
go,
place.
and it is not interrupting any other flow. So there are definite spheres that have to be respected around each piece of equipment. And this will not overlap any other equipment sphere, so we'll be okay in that.
And concern about that only is because right behind this, there's the metal structure of 4 poles going up in the air. Do we foresee any bumping into it as kids are running there? Because right now as designed, they go up front, so they avoid that area, but is there?
That's why I emailed Compton just to double check, and they said no.
Okay, so this is a solution elsewhere
It-
as well.
This will be fine. So the second printout is a request for rubber surfacing. And so we did reach out to Compton to put together a proposal to rubberize the whole playground. And the reason to do that is because although the mulch that we have is ADA compliant, ask anybody in a wheelchair if they want to be on that mulch, and apparently the answer is no. So we are investigating the cost. The first round that came back was close to $500,000 to rubberize the whole playground. That was only one bid. Granted, we would get more than one. But the suggestion came in to create paths within the playground so that we didn't need to rubberize the whole playground, so that we could have both a mulch and a rubber surface where it was needed and where it would direct children who were in wheelchairs to places that they can use on the playground. So this is a diagram that shows the possibility. I'm still waiting on pricing. And looking at this, I can see that there's certain things in here that I don't even think would be necessary, like the zip line area. I really don't think that that needs to be rubberized. So that may be, taking that out may reduce the cost of the rubber surface. So we're still very much in the beginning stages of finding out what this would cost, where it would go, and what the options are.
My only thing I want us to though think about, because I know that we're trying to retreat and save money in the process, but we also have to be mindful, it might not just be children in wheelchairs, it might be parents, it might be grandparents. So I just get, I understand what we're thinking, but I don't want to lose sight that we're trying to make it accessible for everyone.
Good point.
Everyone.
That's a good point. And from what I understand, there are ADA grants out there. So if we can, once we find out what the full cost would be,
Right.
If we can find a grant that will cover it, why not?
Okay.
It would make
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
There are, as I'm beginning to learn, there are other issues to know about rubberized surfaces.
Okay.
We just need to be aware of as a group, and I'll bring those to the table once I feel like I've exhausted
Okay.
all of the different things that we need to be aware of, but, good point.
Because this is so I agree with you, Judy, about the fact that this should be accessible to everybody, but if we're taking this angle as a primary angle, the children with disabilities or adults with disabilities too, I wonder if we can look for some grants that would be specific to, either federal grants that would be, allowing us, this would be allowable use under certain grants, or whether the DHSS perhaps in the state of Delaware has a grant that we can tap into as well, just because of this nature of this service.
Right.
Just curious.
Yeah, I think they're definitely out there. I've been told by at least one person, Nicole Poor, had mentioned that there were ADA grants. And so definitely if we can find money that is specifically for the surfacing, we'll cover the whole thing. I think we're all for it.
So you said it was $500,000 for rubberizing the entire playground?
Yeah, the issue that we have is the mulch is 12 inches deep because of, the different equipment that we have there. In order to be safe, we have to have a fairly deep mulch base. To take that mulch out and put rubber in, we would have to put in crush and run, which is typically beneath the rubber surface, but more crush and run than you would normally have because of the depth of the mulch. So that is expensive. And, if we can get local contractors to kind of give us a break, that would be wonderful, but we can't really expect it going in. If we can find it, that's great. So this will be more expensive than a typical playground that is just starting out with rubberized surface. It would require us to remove all the mulch, put in the crush and run, and then bring the rubber to the appropriate depth
And
for safety.
what would this schematic cost here? Is this the?
I don't have that number yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I've just been working a meeting with them over the past week. And so I'll know more in the new year. I should have 2 bids by the next time we meet again.
And the area that's in gray, brown, whatever is not blue, is that remaining to be?
That would be a remaining mulch. Yeah, in this particular diagram, the yellow is mulch and the blue is a rubberized surface. And I'll be bringing 2 different bids, one for full rubberization, which we already have, which is close to $500,000. And then this one for partial, and then I'll look to get at least another bid from another company so that we have different options.
What's the longevity of that? Is there like 10-year span where it's gonna need to be redone, so you got to come up with another $500,000 in 10 years?
So I did ask about warranties,
Yeah.
and I believe I was told by one company it was 7, the other company I haven't gotten that number from yet. But mulch, we know we need to replace every year. So we'll need to take a look at those costs over time and figure out which one is better. We originally went with mulch because it was cheaper, and also for the drainage issues, because we were worried about drainage. That park is a pond right now, and although the playground I don't think is, I haven't seen it today, so I'm not sure if it is also underwater. But in the past, before some of the remediation work was done, and before it was built up, there were always drainage issues in that park. So we want to make sure it will avoid those.
So is that to assume then the surface would have to be replaced every 7 to 10 years approximately?
Depending how much usage it gets, it's possible.
And I also wonder, because we're on water, whether our usage, whether wear and tear is gonna be even worse just because of the weather conditions. But I'm just calculating, even in the best case scenario, at 10 years, that's still 50,000 a year. And that's definitely way more expensive than mulch. I mean, I think it's about 1,000 or 2 a year probably.
I think the mulch is more than we've expected, so we should probably get numbers from Rick as to what it costs.
Probably not 50,000, right?
I don't think it's 50,000,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not 1,000 or 2.
Mhm.
I think you're probably talking in the tens of thousands for the mulch that
Okay.
went in.
So comparable in a sense.
Other question I had, also is there a playground that we could go see that shows a mix?
That's a really good question.
Because maybe that's where,
I have never seen them,
no,
but
With the rubber?
with both rubber and mulch.
Oh, yeah. So Newark one has both.
Oh, really?
So right underneath their tree, the spider web is
Mhm.
mulch or, natural area, whereas the rest of it is just rubber. So I mean, it's kind of, if you think about. Yeah, so that would be, it's a very small area is mulch, rest of it is just rubber.
Good to know. And that was our first trip, playground trips,
Yeah,
right?
several years ago. yeah.
Right. Right, right.
One question I had about the surface was, would that be able to be manipulated around a potential phase 2? So like, would the rubber surface go down first and then we could go on top, or what would be that order of operations?
I believe they told me the equipment goes in first and the rubber goes in after.
Okay,
Phase 2 has to go in
yeah,
first and then, yeah.
I mean, we can fundraise at the same time, I'm assuming,
Oh, completely, yeah.
But-
But in terms of the
order.
order, the phase 2 goes in first. Yep. All right, any questions about the equipment? Next up on the agenda is the neighborhood playgrounds update, and I'm excited to introduce Matt, who is, I believe, uses Bull Hill Playground, and we're, if you can introduce yourself to the group.
Sure. My name is Matthew Ide. I live just on East Second Street, just a stone's throw from here. I have 2 sons. One of them turns 2 years old on the 22nd, and the other one is 6 months old. So definitely get a lot of use out of Bull Hill. We did use the new playground for the first time during Spirit of Christmas, and he loves the swings and loves running around and sort of enjoying all that. It was quite an active playground, so I'm excited to see the next phase, But yeah, I'm excited. I have a background in marketing, and I want to help sort of raise the bar in terms of getting people behind the playground rather than being sort of wary of it. So here to help.
Great, all right, that's wonderful. And one of the things that I know we love your opinion and expertise on is what your kids would like to see in Bull Hill. Because what we it's probably this year, but we did an event at the library where we had people who were representing different playgrounds, and we asked for their opinions as to what equipment they would like to see. We did get some feedback from Bull Hill, but we want to make sure that the direct community has their say and helps to pick out ideas to the neighborhood. So, if since you live there, we would love to have you take the lead on recommending what you'd like to see.
Gosh, okay, yeah.
Or even gathering feedback from community, just, you know, we don't wanna make sole decisions ourselves, right? So I think the idea is to get meetings in place that, you know, engage community to, right, because like you, we come with Nora, our daughter, to Bull Hill a lot, and some friends from town go there too, you know, the play dates. But one thing to note about Bull Hill, and I'm sure you know that too, is it's aimed towards younger kids.
Yeah.
So the equipment there is not the same equipment you will find at Battery Park,
Right.
right? So that's, I don't know if that was intentional, and also that's another thing in strategy around this, whether we want to leave it like that too, right? So that you still have a playground you can go with your younger ones if the other one is too busy and, you know, kids are running around at full speed versus
Right.
a 1-year-old, you know, like you're that's about to start walking, and, you know, I'm sure you're gonna start taking him to.
I think they just start running immediately.
Well, or, yeah,
The swings and the slides are are popular choices, and everything right now is great in terms of the eyes of a 2-year-old. He's actually a big fan of the basketball hoop that's there. He found a wiffle ball there the other day that he's just been throwing at the basketball hoop. One day he'll make it in, but
yeah,
A little taller.
yeah, I will start sort of probing the community, because I do want to state that I'm definitely an advocate for the sort of all access park.
Mhm.
And I like the thought of parks being for adults as well, and sort of older adults. Motion is lotion, right? So I want to encourage people to get out and be a bit more active. And Bull Hill especially is a nice quiet spot.
Mhm.
So definitely keeping sort of children's aspects, but if we can maybe incorporate things for neighbors. You know, we'll see if that's even something that people would want, but
I think that's a good idea. I think it's an excellent idea. Okay,
Some
so,
parks, they do have places where, like along the trails, they'll have places to have someone to do crunches, they'll have a machine where you can sit on it, you know, you do your crunches on the hula bars or something like that. So, and we are an older community, so I think that is important. And for myself, it's grandchildren now,
right.
children. So I think that's right. I know I've met you before, and I think that's where it was at Bull Hill.
Could be.
And I have a 3-year-old grandson,
Mhm.
and it's funny the things that they gravitate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a like a hippopotamus there. He can go inside of that hippopotamus, and that is that and the climbing thing, the climbing wall. What I was able to do with him is teach him right left.
Mhm.
It's like, now your right foot, now your left foot. So I was able to teach him right left with that when he was 2.5. So he's now, I know he's right left. But he climbs the whole way to the top and he's 3.
Mhm.
So that that one is, I don't know, your son might not be old enough for that yet, but it's at 3, my grandson's
Yeah.
going up that thing now.
We've only done a really intense games of peekaboo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something, those are the 2 things that obviously slides, but those are the 2
Yeah.
things that he loves the most there is those, you know, he can't wait to go to the park when he comes here, so.
Yeah,
Great.
I think that a lot of folks can sort of forget about playgrounds as they get older, right? And they sort of think, oh, this is for children. And then as soon as any change comes to it, they go, oh, well, this is a strange new playground and it's weird and I don't like this, because when I was a kid, we were playing on, you know, railroad ties and stainless steel slides, and you know, it was like
Things were different.
you could survive, you know, the 2-story slide. So I think that so encouraging activity and encouraging motion and movement I would love just a bank of grandparents just sort of like moving and watching the grandkids while their kids are around. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And we have identified that there are grown-up parks that are being built in Delaware, in southern Delaware. Has anybody visited it yet? I think is it Milford?
I've seen some county ones, but I haven't seen any city
Be a
ones.
really good one that was just opened this fall, and I have to take a road trip down there. But yeah, I think it could be an example for what we might do up here, perhaps.
Said Milford.
I think it's Milford, Milton.
Okay.
I have to double check.
So you guys are thinking with Bull Hill to keep it for smaller children? Is that what I mean, I got mixed things there.
So the idea
Right now.
behind the neighborhood plan is really to tap into the people who live around, to find out what do you want, so that you have a vested interest in it. We want to make sure that as we build playgrounds, the people who live there take priority. And also, for a couple of reasons, they're gonna use it, but also we want to keep their eyes on the playground to make sure that, if something is going on there, people report back and there are ways to correct situations as they come up. So, really tapping into who lives there, who uses the park, I think is essential to figuring out what will go there. It could be that it's kept, that it's for the younger, but it could be that, you have a bunch of older kids there and they want to do something there too, maybe not, but we'll find out.
In terms of neighborhood feedback, when it was announced that I was on the playground committee, I've had a bunch of friends near Susie Park
Mhm.
come up to me and say, you should do Susie Park next. So,
Because if there's somebody from Susie Park who wants to take the lead on it, we will support them,
okay.
but they need to be on the committee to do that.
But I think it's, to Suzanne's point, almost like a natural, you can see kind of, as it happens, movement within these meetings where the idea is to identify age groups of kids in these meetings so that we're saying, okay, Bull Hill satisfies the area, that we're looking at of town, but, or perhaps the finding is that, oh, we have older kids now as well there. And then on top of that, to Matt's point, we would like to see some adult equipment too. So I think that's kind of the idea for every playground to go through, saying what we have right now is good, not good, can be updated with what, because it doesn't make sense to go and do all ages if the playground does not have any kids, right? So like, it's just kind of like, what are we doing, right? So like, we have to scan every area, identify, almost little census of each community to identify what equipment we should have. And that's why Suzanne is pushing, and we are pushing for having a representative for each community, so they can be that, connection with residents.
We've put together, as you can see when you go to Battery Park, we've put together a plan for how to build and have the playgrounds and how to pick equipment and things like that. So that all that is all ready to go for each of the neighborhood playgrounds. It just needs somebody to lead on each one to make it personalized and customized for that particular year. All right, I think now we don't have any other questions about the neighborhood playgrounds. Let's turn to public comments and I'd love to learn about that rig.
So, I'm Randy Snyder, my wife Melissa. We are, Lancaster County. We lived up there for about 30 years and, we moved down here about 10 years ago and I bought the worst house in town. And I fixed it. It took me 10 years to fix it up. So now I'm done. I do have the apartment building next door to me as well. So that keeps me a little busy, but I am a person that likes to keep busy. So I'm done my house now. So when I'm not doing an apartment, and the only time I do those is when someone moves out, which they never do. So I'm kind of looking for things to do. My background a little bit would be I coached baseball and basketball for 13 years each. Then I went into youth ministry. I did that for 13 years. So I've done a lot of mission trips with children. So I've been around kids my whole life, but being from not here, it's like I was very involved with things up there. When you come into a community, it's hard to just go say, hey, I want to hang out with your kids. That doesn't work. It's like you can't just do that, So this would be a way for me to get and do something to be involved. Like I said, we do use Bull Hill because I do like it for the smaller kids. Obviously for my grandson. And that's all I have right now. I might hopefully have another one coming. I don't know. We'll see about that part. But that's my background. I also have been around construction my whole life. So I'm a maintenance, like an engineer kind of in a building right now, in a state farm building up in Pennsylvania. And so that's what I do for a living. So I'm handy and I have a little bit of knowledge about a lot of different things. And I did say a little bit of knowledge about a lot of different things. So that's really what I am. I'm a pretty simple person. And you guys see, I met these two guys before. I've met these three. I've never met you two.
Okay.
Now I have. I've not heard the other bit. So I am a person about town. And I'm out about all. You'll see me at all the pubs and I'm doing all the things and in at all the activities and all that stuff. So
What street do you live on?
East Third.
East Third.
East Third. Yeah, we're 127 and 125 East Third. And that's, my wife's a Philly girl, but I moved her to the country about 30 years ago. We were married for 38 years. So. That's so scary.
Sports, did you coach?
Baseball and basketball. Yeah. I love them both. I like basketball better though. I was probably a better baseball player, but I like coaching basketball better. But that was a while ago. So gotta be able to run with the kids. I can't run with kids.
Well, we're really.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. I guess we had one meeting scheduled and then it got canceled or I missed it or something.
It got
Something-
canceled,
We got canceled, yeah. So, it was bad that I saw you the other day and but I guess that was Spirit of Christmas Day.
Spirit of Christmas, yeah.
So, I felt bad for interrupting you, you were with your kids, but, bad about that. But if you, need help with our community, our neighborhood, I'm willing to help with that, if that's what you want.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I'll give you my info and you guys, I can do whatever you want me to do. And if you want to need me to run someplace to look at another playground, I'm going to do that. My daughter goes to a lot of playgrounds with her son because they live in a row home in Philly, so they don't really have a yard or anything. So she's nonstop. Like she goes to the aquarium at least once a week. She goes to the zoo about every 2 weeks. They go to indoor playgrounds, outdoor playgrounds. So I could ask her what her ideas are too. I mean, she don't need to come here, but I'll just ask her personally. I would love for them to be here. Are you kidding me? I would love them to be down.
We do a lot of playground visits. Judy and I went up to Media, Pennsylvania, a couple weeks ago because we were looking at our phase 2 will have a ramp that's ADA compliant that will go up to the slide that everybody is bemoaning is missing.
Okay.
Our current playground. And so I tried it out. We tried it out and saw all the different things that they were incorporating. It was a really neat playground
Okay.
and a lot of good ideas
Okay.
for our phase 2.
The media's a nice town. We get up there a little bit, you know, we have family up there, so we get up there. But I've
Check
never
out
been
that
to a
playground. That's great.
This is not something that I've ever done before, so I've never really looked at playgrounds like that before. Like, yeah, obviously take my kids and now with grandkids, but I have a 16-year-old granddaughter, so she's a big softball player, so she's not playgrounding anymore, but still, so.
One of the things that I find when I go to visit playgrounds that your daughter may consider doing is to take a picture of those pieces of equipment that are the most popular. Because within a playground, there's always the heavy traffic and then the lighter traffic, and we want to avoid lighter traffic equipment. I
Money.
think, because it's money, exactly. So being mindful of, what the kids really like to use, I think is something that feedback is always really welcome.
Yeah, that's why I started off with for my grandson, 2 pieces of equipment. I think probably the cheapest piece of equipment there is that Hippo. Yeah, and it's like he just loves that thing. Something about it. I don't know why a 3-year-old just loves that thing. Something about
It's pretty psychedelic, that
it.
tongue and organs.
Pink or blue or.
I just want to, again, thank Mr. Snyder for coming. It's always a pleasure to run into you, always pleasant. Happy to have you into the fold and part of the team. And also want to officially welcome Matt. Matt's going to be a great addition to the subcommittee. He's very talented and looking forward to it. So,
Thank you.
And bring your friends.
Yes.
plenty of them.
These are working meetings pretty much, so that's where we are right now, guys, so.
So
And the fundraising part would be you guys. That's not basic, but talking to people and that kind of stuff would be me. That if you needed help with that kind of stuff, like I'm not here. That's your accounting or doing, marketing. Okay, so that would be more his forte than it would be.
Fundraising without buying from community is just money sitting on account that we can't use. It's in my, that's how I see it, so.
Okay.
we definitely want to hear what people. Anything before we end up tonight?
I just wanted to talk about the first matter, the ramp addition, the rubberizing part of the zip line. So I know that we were talking about not maybe getting 2 quotes for the rubberizing area. But I guess before we do that, I didn't feel comfortable making a decision which equipment is more exciting to people with disabilities. And I don't know, maybe they use zipline too. So I guess I wonder if first of all, I would like everything to be rubberized. Everything in blue should be rubberized. But if we do have to choose, I'm not personally an expert in identifying what would be equipment. I know that these swings here that we have are absolutely something that we intentionally got there
Mhm.
for kids with disabilities, but I would assume they can probably use zip line too because it has a ramp, right? And we have an entrance right there brought
Right,
up to it, but I'm not sure. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if we can ask somebody who has kids in town
Mhm.
to see even Senator Poor.
Well, I was gonna say, she seemed like she was an.
I know that her
expert,
kid is a little older, but you know,
But she
just
probably
just from
knows what
using
some of the
playgrounds in the past,
challenges are.
yeah.
That's a very good point. I don't know if there's a, family group or some group that maybe is in support of children who would use it. And we ask them to kind of maybe come out and identify. Because we always want to be collaborative and not to assume what we think someone might want to use.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
thank you
very
for raising that number.
I think we're all thinking is just, you know, we're trying to figure out if there's a stage 1 or 1A, 1B of it, you know, perhaps. But
okay. I think reaching out to Nicole Porras and getting the name of the family, because I know there is a particular family in town that she was thinking of when we were planning this for ADA compliance. So that
great.
will be an easy first step. All right, any other questions before we break? Thank you all again for coming. Have a really wonderful holiday and motion to adjourn. I need to adjourn. Anybody second?
Does anybody
All in
need
favor?
my contact information?
Yes.
we just have to say aye.
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 Your email.
Email is Randall, 2 L's,
Mhm.
Snyder, SYDER,